Am I on?
Not yet.
You
Okay.
are
Give
on
me a
now.
heads up.
You're on now. Yes.
I'm on. Okay, so I can begin, Dr. Rao?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this has been great, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Tanya Alcarrier, but I got to add another name because I got married a month ago. So it's Tanya Alcarrier Hicks. I'm coming at you from Michigan. Very, very cold right now, you guys. I'm really honored and happy to be here. Thank you so much. So my talk is about losing the fear of speaking up and as being an activist. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and Dr. Rao and Jane and Climate Healers and everybody here. And thank you everybody for watching, because if you're watching this, that means you care, and that's what we need. So thank you for spending your time with us and helping us with this effort to save lives, literally, on this and make this world a better place. So I do want to let you guys know that there will be a little time for questions. If you guys have anything you want to put in the chat box, that would be great. I think the only place I can get questions, though, is on Zoom here, just FYI, unless somebody is fielding them from Facebook. I'm not sure. So a little bit about me. I go by Your Vegan Friend Tanya on YouTube. I have a small YouTube channel. And I also am lucky enough to get to be on the Jane Velez Mitchell, Jane Unchained team as a contributor. Very, very happy about that. I've been vegan for 5.5 years. And I did realize pretty early on the importance of speaking out as an activist. So again, I call myself Your Vegan Friend Tanya because I wanted to have a friendly name to my channel. Okay, I wanted it to be like a friendly thing. And the reason is because sometimes, sadly, even the mere mention of the word vegan can turn people off and annoy people. Okay, they just don't want to hear it. So speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil, like that can't be applicable anymore, because we are just in a bad place right now. And the fact is, like, people's actions are directly contributing to unspeakable suffering. And so we can't tiptoe around these issues anymore. We have to be able to speak out. And I used to be afraid of that. I used to be afraid to speak out. And I'm so happy I'm not anymore. I used to always just want people to like me and everything. And it's like, I'm so glad that I found my voice. And so that's actually why I'm here right now, like I said, is to share like the whys and the hows of talking to people about these important issues. So I just mentioned how some people are immediately turned off when they hear the word vegan or veganism, okay? And that's a real shame. But we need to know why they do that, why they feel that way, and that's by design. Okay, the animal agricultures, the meat, dairy, and egg companies, as well as big government, they pay a lot of money to make sure that people don't see and hear the things that we vegans have seen and heard. It's by design. Every year, American taxpayers subsidize the animal food system with $38 billion, according to the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service. So that means, like, for every dollar of animal products that are sold, the animal agriculture system costs like almost $2 to taxpayers. So let's put that in fast food talk, okay? So like the Big Macs that everybody eats cost about $4, and that means they cost taxpayers about $7 for every time somebody wants fast food. Excuse me. So I don't know about you, but that makes me angry when I find out the tax dollars are going to those places. So like Jane Velez was just talking about, if you want to know more about government bailouts, a great organization to go and find out more about is the Agriculture Fairness Alliance. They are a group of activists who are trying to educate people and also raise money to go toward lobbyists to stop this tax money from going to these places. So check them out, the Agriculture Fairness Alliance. And Jane was encouraging people to pledge them. I already do donate to them, but I'm going to double what I give them because I'm inspired by this weekend. So thank you guys. So another reason that people get uncomfortable about talking about vegans and hearing more about like the vegan point of view is advertising. Meat and dairy companies have been spending millions of dollars on advertising for years, and the reason they can afford to do that is because of those bailouts, the same bailouts we were just talking about. So when you are nearly constantly bombarded with commercials and advertising for hamburgers and chicken nuggets and milkshakes and egg sandwiches, it really plays a number on the perception of the normalcy of all of that. These ads normalize the violence to such an extreme that most people don't even consider it violence. most people never have even stopped to think about how an animal got to be wrapped up in a piece of paper and placed into a bag. Have you ever noticed that? I remember a long time ago, I was hanging out with a friend and we were at like one of those Renaissance dinner shows, and they served chicken like on the bone because you weren't supposed to eat with utensils. You're supposed to eat with your hands. And I remember my friend that I was with couldn't eat it. And I mean, we were both eating, both meat eaters at the time. This was years ago, but she couldn't eat it because she was, grossed out by it being on the bone. Like, what's the difference? Have you ever been in that situation before? Like, what's the difference? And so she's not the only one. Like, have you ever heard of like an accidental, maybe like chicken head or hand or something ending up in a bucket of chicken parts? Like, what's the difference? It's what's wrong with the head. There are a lot of people who are really turned off by the sight of meat that looks like meat. They have absolutely no problem of purchasing it when it comes neatly packaged in cellophane with a sticker on it. People don't want to think about where their food comes from, and when you, the vegan, starts bringing it up to them and pointing it out to them, they have to face it, and they don't want to think about that. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to be forced to think about it. They would rather think that the vegan is, the crazy one, or the bleeding heart, or the hypocrite, or the weirdo. How dare we make them try to see the truth, right? I don't know if this is relatable for you guys or not, but so these government bailouts to the animal agriculture industries have made buying meat, dairy, and eggs seem like the most normal, healthy, ethical, fine thing to do. But we know it isn't. We know that it's detrimental to our ethics. We know it's detrimental to our health and to our planet. But because of the seemingly normal standard American diet that most people follow, it does make it hard to talk about these things. It's kind of like fighting a cultish mindset, and unfortunately, it can end up making us look bad, even though all we're trying to do is save and share information that's literally life-saving. So all of that makes communicating with other people effectively a big task. I understand feeling the same way before something clicked for me. I remember not wanting to hear it. I remember wanting people to leave me alone. I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to look away. I wanted to block it out. I don't actually remember exactly what that final seed was that was planted in me, but I do know that once it clicked, a lot changed in me, and I was actually able to face the information and let it sink in. And I'm really, really thankful that happened. So when my blinders came off and I learned about veganism and all that goes with it, the ethics of it, the health, the environmental aspects, it was a really huge deal. It was like being in the Matrix for real. So many of the things that I always assumed were true suddenly became scary and false. And now I see suffering everywhere, even though I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't take the blue pill now. I would still take the red pill. But I see suffering everywhere. And when I learned this truth that's been hidden from us, about where our food comes from, I was just sure that if I got to share the information with other people, tell people what I learned, I was sure that when I approached other people, they were going to hug me and be like, thank you so, so much for sharing this information. Like, I learned, and like, I see the world differently, and thank you so, so much, right? I thought that they were going to tell other people, they were going to change, and so on and so on. Okay, that happens once in a while. Okay, it happens, but not as often as we would like. What usually happens is that people get annoyed with me, with us, with the message, right? I realized how important activism is a while ago, though. I know that it's a wonderful thing to stop contributing to the suffering of animals and to our planet. That's sure, it's great for change to happen on an individual level. But in order for real change to happen, activism needs numbers. We have to, and we need to share information with others to cause real change. We need to rise up in many different ways and ask other people to also rise up as well, to use their voices. We have to. There is so much misinformation, corruption, and money on the side of animal and planetary suffering that it's going to take all of our voices to fight that. So you're living your life day to day. and you're eating the diet that you're told about by media, right? And then boom, all of a sudden your blinders start coming off. You go vegan, you believe in it, you educate yourself, and now what? How do you begin to share that information with other people and also ask them to make the switch too? Well, I feel like I am somewhat of an expert in this category. And do you want to know why I'm an expert? It's because it's because I've actually made every single mistake you can possibly make about 100 times when I started talking to people about this. And no, I'm kidding, but like, I don't actually like to call them mistakes. I want to call them like learning experiences, okay? Because I'm of the belief that you shouldn't refer to them as mistakes, okay? When you start advocating for a vegan lifestyle, you got to know one thing. That's that your heart is in the right place, okay? So please do it. If you're on the fence of saying something, just say it. Speak and use your voice, okay? Because you'll find your style in time. Share stories and information that advocate as if it were you yourself in that cage or next in line at the slaughterhouse. It's kind of a motivator there. You are trying to save lives, and that deserves appreciation. And so if you speak up at any time, you have my total appreciation. Thank you. I have come across as too pushy, not pushy enough, a know-it-all. People like to point out that I've eaten meat my whole life and I just changed, you know? I get it. I suggest if you are in a conversation like this with somebody and this happens, keep your mind on why you feel you need to share this information. Think of the dire situation our planet and the animals are in. If you don't word everything 100% perfectly, it's okay, because 100% perfectly does not exist, and the situations are always changing. There are activists that get their message out in so many different ways, so you can do that too. There's a million different ways to be an activist. There are some people that have a bold, loud style. Some activists choose to shame fur wearers or meat eaters in public. They picket circuses, while other people take on a much more subtle approach. I would just like to give my opinion on all of these different forms of activism, and that is, I applaud every bit of it, okay? I think there's room in veganism for every type of activism that you want. There's room in this movement. So whether you want to join DXE, Direct Action Everywhere, where they do bold, like in-your-face actions in public, or if you want to join the SAVE movement, where you stand outside slaughterhouses and chronicle on your camera while you're there the last moments of the animal's life so that you can share that on social media. Every kind of activism is great. Also sharing your food, doing cooking shows, it's all valid, it's all activism, and we need every bit of it. So again, you're living your life and you find yourself in a situation where you could pass on some information. Where do you start? I think a huge thing that's going to grow your confidence is educating yourself on all of the issues and all of the arguments that you might hear about veganism. There are many resources out there. Of course, there's so many resources. It's so fantastic that can help with this. Like there's YouTube and books and films and whatever is going to grow your confidence. Just learn it, suck it up, and really this is going to help you so much in communicating. Earthling Ed's one of my favorite activists. He has a whole series of 30 excuses, and they're really well done. So I would suggest starting there if you want to educate yourself. But spoiler alert, there is no good argument against veganism. No good argument against veganism. So truly, learn as much as you can about the many points that people like to throw up about veganism, and your confidence will grow a ton. So when advocating for the animals and the planet, it can be really helpful to keep the ethics of veganism and the main reason at the forefront of the conversation. This is good if you're starting out or if the conversation's kind of going every which way. Sure, diet and health as well as environment, of course, are extremely important, of course. But if a conversation is starting to get heated or off topic or a little bit confusing, please remember why you're sharing this information in the first place. You can always steer them to the truthful argument that killing animals for food isn't necessary. It's not necessary for health, and so hence that makes it completely unnecessary. good place to go back to if you get a little bit messed up or start choking on your words or anything, or if it's a bad situation. So some advice I'd like to give you is to watch coming off too accusatory. This hasn't worked well for me because people actually feel that way. They feel guilty on their own anyway, most people do. What I mean by that is that most people, even people who eat animals, sometimes they have some level of guilt over it, especially nowadays when, thank goodness, plant-based and vegan foods are so all over the place. They're everywhere now, which is great. So it's really cool. It's like, thank goodness for the activists, right? So you see that circle of like, activists are making this information more readily available, which is making it easier to talk about. So that's really great. So if you are accusatory with somebody, and somebody already has a slight measure of guilt about their actions, because most people already know that animals don't deserve their treatment that they're given, especially in factory farms. That is not a good combination. So just by the sheer action of bringing up the word vegan at times can already make people feel accusatory. I think what I found to be helpful is to build a common ground and stay relatable. And I hate this tiptoeing around. I do. I hate this tiptoeing around, but I think it's important to try to be as productive in your conversations as you can be. So these are just some tips and tricks that have worked for me, I think, right? This is my effort here. But what I found to be helpful is to build a common ground and stay relatable to people by reminding them that you were raised the same way they were. Remind people that you heard and simply just heard and learned new information, and then you decided to make different choices with your food. That you realized, remind people that you realized that you could live happily and healthfully without contributing to this type of suffering, and that it actually is a lot easier than you probably thought it was going to be in the first place. And then tell them that they can do that too. This type of communication is helpful, and I think the best part of it is that it's really kind and it's truthful, and it's a good way of advocating. It has been for me, I hope. Another important part of being an activist is creating a community for yourself. I strongly suggest making some like-minded friends. It's important. You know, we're taking the red pill after all. It's important. So we're out there, okay? The internet makes this really easy to do. Go to an event, go by yourself if you need to, join groups on Facebook, reach out and grow a vegan family for yourself. Go to an event alone. Actually say the words, I need vegan friends. I literally have done that before, you guys. So again, the world seems like the Matrix, and I needed to know when I did that, I needed to know that I didn't take the red pill alone. I needed to know that there were like-minded people out there. So when you have an opportunity to advocate and share information with others, please don't forget it's just seeds getting planted. Now, I would love this, and it's really unfortunate, but it is kind of unlikely that you're going to turn somebody vegan after one conversation. It does happen, but as an activist, you don't want to set yourself up for like a feeling of failure, expecting that. You got to be concerned with like planting seeds and encouraging other people that you're speaking to look into the things themselves and to be curious. I always say that too. I'm like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just a hairstylist, I'm a filmmaker from Michigan. Look it up yourself. Here's a link, here's some information. Let people get curious, plant seeds, let them know that you're there for them. And you have to do that, because if you expect people to be 100% vegan after you speak with them, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it really is important type of self-care, because you want to think of yourself as playing the long game and take care of yourself. Just my opinion. Use your voice to make positive change. Remember too that you might not see it face to face, but you are planting those seeds, and they will continue to grow after the conversation that you've had with somebody. Educate yourself. Stay firm in your belief that this is the right way to live. Plant seeds, invite more conversations in the future, and remember, we need your voice because we are on the right side of history. So thank you. So if there's anything that we could, that's my presentation. If anybody wants to talk to me, share anything, that would be great. Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Let's see if there are any questions in the chat. There was a lot of comments on the chat. saying that your information should go out to every organization.
Okay, I got a message about, okay, somebody wants me to, that'd be great. Also, I do want to say too, Countdown to Year Zero on Amazon is one of my favorite documentaries, and I am going to have a watch party for that soon because it's really wonderful. I went through the exact same thing. People could be. So Lisa says, I went through the exact same thing. I thought everyone would be supportive when I went vegan. And then unfortunately, she probably found out that people maybe weren't as supportive as she was hoping they would go. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Oh, Lisa, are you there? Hi, Lisa.
Products. Hi, yeah, oh, sorry, I have another thing going here. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I'll just quickly say, yeah, when you said that, I was like, wow, because I said that same thing. I had that exact same experience. I thought, this is so great. I've had this wonderful realization and this great transformation. It's so much better for me. It's improving my life. It's changing my life. I'm not withdrawing my support for harming animals. And yeah, I found out that, wow.
It's almost like we hear that wah wah in our
Oh, exactly. So sister, I just want to tell you, thank you for saying that, because I was like, wow, yeah, someone else had this experience. I found out that just even saying the word vegan, right, without even mentioning anything about the other person's practices or anything like that, could be extremely triggering, at least, especially in a couple of cases. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Yeah, I know, right? We can commiserate together. But I mean, since I'm on here, let me just ask you, did you, like, I'm just curious, were you able to preserve some relationships where this kind of happened, where people shut down or they got really defensive? And like, did you have the experience of being able to work through some of that? Or were there some relationships where you had to sort of say, like, you know what, we just need some space right now?
Yes, I think both. I have friends that I have had not the best communications with at first, and that I felt like I don't want to regret anything, because I know that, like, again, like I was trying to say in my talk too, like I think that our hearts are in the right places, so we have to just kind of be able to forgive ourselves for that, because we really are just doing the best that we can. But I do have friends that I have communicated with. Okay, this sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not even kidding. This was probably a couple of years ago. I had these conversations that were kind of uncomfortable, and it literally just dawned on me. My friend got a hold of me a few weeks ago and told me that she was trying to go dairy free and they're almost meat free at their house. I'm not saying I did it, but I'm saying, like, I know that there were some seeds planted, and that was a conversation that didn't go very comfortably, because maybe I came off too whatever, you know? And I think too, when we speak to people that we know, since we do already have relationships with them, it's a little bit more uncomfortable than if we're doing activism or putting a video out there where we're not actually communicating with people we know. If we're just kind of putting information out there, it's a little bit easier. But yeah, that just dawned on me. I didn't really make the connection that she was kind of starting to go vegan, and her family was doing that. Again, I'm not taking full responsibility for this or anything like that, but I just have to believe in seeds being planted, because I actually did get a little bit upset before. I had that very experience that I talked about, where if somebody wasn't vegan at the end of the conversation, I'm like, oh my gosh, I failed. And that's not how it works. You know, we got to get those seeds. I know sometimes people call it seeds being planted. Other people say it's that, I don't know if you've ever heard the 0 to 100, and 100 is veganism, and then people kind of are somewhere in between. So maybe somebody just needs a few seeds, you know, or a few numbers up, and maybe other people are back here and they have further to go. So if we can kind of push people over, you know, to start seeing things, I don't know. I just know that, like, I just try to be as outspoken as I can be, and I try to be as nice as I can, because that's my style. But I appreciate everybody. If they're speaking out, they're my heroes. Whoever's speaking out, they're all my heroes. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. You probably did have something to do with it. And I'll just quickly say, I think with people that we're close with, as opposed to, say, someone we're advocating to on the street or in some other situation where we're not in a relationship with them, you know, there's sort of almost like this happiness contract, this unspoken happiness contract that we've had, right, where we do events and things take place over animal products, or it's just not, and we've sort of like disrupted that like happiness formula, right? And so that's why we can get so much backlash. But I think that's amazing. I think just we have an impact just by saying we've made the transformation, planting seeds or building people up on that 100 scale, if we look at it that way. So yeah, thank you so much for.
Oh, thank you. And
bringing
actually, you
that up.
reminded me of another quick story. Do I have I have a few minutes. Okay. You actually reminded me of another story. Or it was I would say it was a part of my journey of my communication with people. And it was that I used to watch the wording of like, oh, I'm vegan, or do I want to say this out loud, or how do I want to word it? And I remember one time when I was feeling more confident in it, I went to a bridal shower and I sat down at the table knowing full well that like they would not have anything for me to eat. That was okay. I actually brought food. I had like something, like a container of something in my purse, and I just kind of took it out, and I didn't make a big deal out of it. I wasn't going to offer up that information. But there was a lady that came over and started sitting down, and she looked at me and she said, oh, are you on a special diet? Okay, few ways you could answer this, right, as a vegan, right? You could say like, oh yeah, whatever, you could blow it out, blow it kind of under the rug, whatever. And I simply looked at her in the eyes and I said, I don't eat animals. And then I grabbed my fork and just started eating. And I just remember her face. Because here's the thing, I wasn't trying to offend her. I wasn't trying to shock her. I wasn't trying to ruin her day. It's just the truth. I don't eat animals. And so she thought about it though. I know, like she went, oh, and then she just sat down and I thought, how she handles it. RuPaul, the immortal goddess RuPaul says, your opinion of me has got nothing to do with me. And I love that. And again, I used to always want people to like me. I used to always want everybody like just to be happy and comfortable and everything like that. And I'm not saying I don't want those things now. I still want those things. I want people to like me. That would be great. But it's not really about me. And I know when I've seen animals on the slaughterhouse trucks, and when I've seen them in their cages, and when I've seen the horrific conditions, that changed my life so profoundly. Somebody cannot like me if they don't want to. If they don't want to like me, that's okay. I found my voice, and I'm really happy that I did. So I looked at her in the eyes. I told her the truth. She can do whatever she wants with that. Whether she chooses to not like me because I said I don't eat animals, or if she respects me because I said I don't eat animals, that's on her. I don't know this woman. That's on her. She can feel however she wants about me. I don't eat animals because I'm against it, because I think it's completely unnecessary. I think it's mean. It's not a nice thing to do anymore, and I don't want to be a part of it anymore. So I don't eat animals. And then I said it in a nice way, and then I stuck my fork in my food and ate it. And she can do whatever she wants with it. And in this situation, she actually asked me a lot more questions about it, and I told her, and we had a conversation, and I think that was successful. She could have moved tables. She could have gotten mad at me. She could have been ignorant. She could have been, however she dealt with it. I had to come to the realization that however she was going to deal with it, it's fine. You want to talk about it further? We can. Sure, that's great. I'm open to it. Anytime. Here's my number. Call me. We can talk about it whenever you want. I'll talk to you about it for an hour or two, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I'll answer every question you want to know. But if she chooses to not like me or take offense to that, that's on her. So.
That was great, Tanya. I mean, you are living your truth.
Yeah.
Right? Living your truth with compassion.
And I think all we have to do is see and do some activism and really see what the animals are going through, because we can't imagine. We can't even imagine. Even if we see it, we can't imagine. We can't imagine what it's like for them. And I think of how lucky I am right now, a warm home, food in my belly, a safe, relatively, of course, we've got things going on in our world, which is why we're all here right now. But, when I think about how safe I am, I can't fathom, like, what they go through. Every 3,000 per second on our planet, and what they're all going through. My little bit of discomfort and maybe having someone get mad at me or say something or not want to be my friend, it's okay. There's nothing. What I'm going through is absolutely no comparison to what they're going through. So I'm proud to speak out whenever I can.
There's a comment about the SPCA in New York. Had a showing of a film about the slaughtering of animals. and the film had no narration until the end. And after it had shown the various forms of slaughter and all of us were screaming, in the end there was one question: if you were an animal, which way would you like to be killed? So Joe was saying that could change a lot of minds and hearts. But trouble is getting people to watch it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the same thing, but you got to make people watch it, So I don't know. That's the $1 million question right there for sure.
There were a group of us in that room. I was the one who wrote that.
Okay.
And everybody screamed when they saw that. It was just such a shocker. And then I also mentioned in the chat that I was a substitute teacher in a high school, and I dared to bring a film, a documentary that was created by this company in England, Beauty Without Cruelty. And it mentioned all different kinds of cruelty to animals, including the slaughterhouse. And it had a quote by Isaac Bashevis Singer saying that slaughtering animals was an abomination. And it showed him saying it. It was really powerful. And it was a daring thing because I didn't have any idea how the teachers would react. It was a kind of a long auditorium, and I was at the top and they were at the bottom. And at the very end, I saw the teachers look at each other and I thought, uh-oh. And they said, everybody should see this film. So films are really a powerful way to convince people. And a lot of the children, they threw out their lunches that day. So it was pretty effective.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really wanted to hear you because of the speaking up thing. I really need to reignite my speaking up aspect.
It's a little harder now that we're not out and about as much as we could be, but I mean, social media is so fantastic for that. And there's different ways, that we can all try to still get the message out as much as possible, Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I also have a book, I just should say. I haven't printed it yet. It's being illustrated, and it's called To the Rescue. And the subtitle is Little Creatures, How Do I Love Thee? And it's all about 7 different true stories of how I was rescuing animals, whether it was worms after a rain in the road, or a cow that had to be taken back to the dairy from a camp that gave birth, and left the calf there crying real tears, or just many different stories. And I'm hoping to get that printed and publicized. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions on here. I don't know if there were any questions on Facebook. Is anybody manning that or no?
Let me check.
Hey, Tanya, great presentation. I have a quick question. What does the sign in your bag says? You have a sign on your bag. Tell us about
it. Says, thank you. It says, your vegan friend, Tanya. Now, does that come across backwards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason it's backwards is because I am a contributor with Jane Unchained. So I do some lunch break lives. I'm actually going to be on Tuesday on lunch break live. And so when I film on my camera, I have a different one I'll have to put up in my room here. If that's sometimes on the computer it like flips it, and sometimes it's right side up. But that's just my YouTube channel. It's Your Vegan Friend Tanya at youtube.com, and I have some maybe 60 or so videos. I've got interviews with a lot of like famous activists on there. Earthling Ed's on there. Natasha and Luca from That Vegan Couple. Dr. Milton Mills. James Aspie, there's just Mike the Vegan. Plus I've done some activism, and I have a bunch of like personal stories and stuff on there if you want to check it out. So thanks for asking. So thank you, Dr. Rob, for having me. That's so great. I appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, you guys are all my heroes. So I don't know if there's any other questions or.
Yeah, thank you for all your insight. It was, yeah. And I think you are absolutely right. We all need to speak out. We have to speak out our truth. Because if we keep quiet, then we are the only ones who can blame ourselves, right?
Yeah. Does anybody have any stories who are in the Zoom room? Does anyone have any stories about maybe a time that they've shared something with someone or had a conversation that didn't really go very well? I mean, we all have those, right?
Yeah, I would like to add, I have been calling our local radio station every time they have a pandemic guest, and they have stopped taking my calls because I always push that we should address the root cause of this pandemic's animal slaughter.
Oh, they mute your call?
Yeah, they don't take my calls anymore.
Oh, that's just infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for trying. I feel like I do feel like there's safety, or not safety, but there's better work done in numbers when you can join people. So I wonder if like a thing that you could do is maybe if there's anybody, if there's a local Facebook page. I'm just thinking in terms of like, I don't know, but I'm always well, Jane Velez Mitchell was on earlier, and she said whenever she gets a message from PETA, PETA's whole philosophy is to like, they'll send out an email or a message and they'll say, could you do this thing really quickly? And they send it out to a bunch of people, and it's a 10-second thing. And I love that philosophy where it's like only like you're asking me to do some activism that takes 10 or 15 seconds? Done. I can do that, you know, because we're all so busy going out through our day. We all have messages to return. We all have these things. But if you can give somebody an activism chore that's 10 or 15 seconds, they'll probably do it. They'll be more apt to do it than not. So like, I mean, maybe you could, if you had something like that, maybe you could organize a group on your local Facebook page or something and make it very simple for people and say, could you call this station and say this in like a tiny little paragraph where they could say, hi, I'm wondering if you could address the effects of climate change and that animal agriculture is one of the main reasons. And if you could get 20 or 30 people in a day to do the same phone call, maybe they'll take you more seriously this time, you know, and then send them an email and be like, this is, you know, I'm not alone here kind of a thing. Because I think that's how things get done, is by numbers, you know. So just an idea. That's something that I try to like, I try to do that same thing whenever I see activism that just takes a quick minute to do. I want to jump on it and do it. Send an email out, or, you know, sign that petition, or, you know, that kind of thing, or share this or whatever, you know, just a thought.
Margaret has her hand up. I think she has a story.
Yes, hi. Oh, I appreciate so much all that you're sharing. Thank you. I have a quick story. I had several occurrences at my former church, with emphasis on former, where I alienated quite a few people as I found my voice for veganism. But one event that stands out was there was a meeting to discuss food preparation for a homeless shelter that was an annual occurrence, and the meal that was always prepared was a pot roast, you know, a big pot roast. And so this was a big, you know, planning meeting for that. And at this time, everybody by this time knew that I was vegan. And so the person who was in charge of the meeting said, well, you know, Margaret, you may not want to, you know, listen to this. And I said, well, you know, what are you planning to serve? And you have to picture like a fairly big meeting, some of whom were involved with the pot roast and others who were not. They were just kind of, you know, there. And I said, well, you know, what about the people who don't eat animals? You know, what plans do you have to serve them? I mean, surely there are homeless people who don't eat animals. And you should have heard the silence in the room at that moment. And not too long after that, there was so much consternation raised by just saying, well, what about the people who don't eat animals, that I was given a list of 10 vegan-related words that I was not allowed to utter on church grounds, or I would be removed from the premises. And an intervention was planned for me as well, which I I turned down the intervention, and I left that church. That was the end of my relationship, basically, with that church. I mean, there were some other things as well, like a meeting about a cheese platter, but I could go on and on. But churches, the Christian faith, very sadly turns its back on the animals. I mean, that is the very sad reality, the bottom line.
I have found that one of the worst arguments people can give me, unfortunately, is that God put animals here for us and we have dominion over them. It's just a hard one to get past and make people hear anything after they say that kind of a thing. That's just
well, yes, and they have all kinds. They're very good at coming up with biblical references to justify. Oh, Jesus ate a fish. Oh, they have an answer for everything, basically.
That is a tough place to be in, for sure. But I can't believe they gave you a list of 11 words that you couldn't.
They were like 10 words, like speciesism was one of them. I think they just Googled veganism and came up with a list based on that. And they actually had people standing around during social hour monitoring, like, is she using any of those words? So what I did was I started wearing a big bold vegan cap, so that I wasn't actually saying the word, but I was wearing the word.
I'm sorry that you were in that situation. That's really awful. Like, I don't know if that's the thing. You can't like. There's something to be said for low-hanging fruit, where people are kind of ready to hear the message, and where they're at least polite about it. And it sounds like that group of people that you encountered weren't even open at all to hearing anything. Obviously, weren't even open at all to learning or hearing or growing or any of that kind of stuff. It's too bad that you had to go through that. That is absolutely awful. The thing that I was thinking of, though, is that is one of the reasons why I think it is getting easier, though, because like maybe that's not the church for you then. Those are not your people, right? But like the good thing about other activists speaking out is because, I mean, every time I go to the grocery store, there's new products out, right? There's new people. Every time I see something related to veganism or plant-based anything on television, it's making it easier for all of us. So I think the more we talk and the more we share, the easier it's going to be for all of us to talk and share, because even people who have shut themselves off quite a bit to hearing the message will at least have heard it over and over again, and it gets a little bit easier. So those are not your people, but if you keep looking for your people and keep getting the message out there, they might not be your people to hang out with in your tribe, but like find another one and keep speaking out. See, you're my hero. That's what I said.
Thank you.
Sorry for your experience, but
I so totally agree with everything you're saying. The more you express it, and like you, I have made all the so-called mistakes, but you grow your voice, and then you start to see some victories. I have a very close friend who resisted every time I would use the word vegan or stop eating animals, and one time she said to me, I just wish you wouldn't push it down my throat, and then all of a sudden one day she stopped eating animals, and she had quite a number of health problems and some pretty bad blood numbers, and she went to her doctor after having stopped eating animals for about a year, and her doctor said, so tell me, like, what accounts for this change, this improvement? And she said, well, I stopped eating animals. And when she told me that, I mean, it was just the most wonderful thing I ever could have heard. I never would have expected it.
Yeah, I have found that it's always the ones you don't expect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nancy has her hands up, and then Dr. Mars.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for doing this event right now. Just to talk about the experiences that I've had that you had asked about. So I've had one where I went to a climate change protests, and I was the only one with my animal agriculture sign, and people were looking at me. And then like 5 minutes later, somebody came and said, "Are you sure you're with the right group?" And I was like, yes, I am with the right group. There's a connection here, you know. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that I believe, and I tell the people that I am in communique with, that you need to share, because we are our own media, unfortunately, for right now. I mean, we have veg media, TV, but we're not primetime media. We don't have, the prime time does not cover us. So we have to be our own media. And I advocate to the people that follow me, wear a t-shirt. You're going somewhere where there's a protest or whatever, wear your vegan t-shirt. I wear my vegan mask to the store, and I've had somebody else say, "What does that say on your mask?" And I says, "It says eat beans, not beans." So it's always a conversation starters. But like you said, the more we spread the word and the more common it becomes in our circles, the more people are going to want to know more. And it's not so much about shaming or telling them this, that, or the other, but it's about them seeing the word, climate healers, vegan 2026 for sure. These kinds of things, whether people know it or not, it's a seed that is planted in their head. Like that young lady who was just talking, who said that the lady said they didn't want to hear about veganism, and then all of a sudden she wasn't eating meat. So I think it's very important that we advocate for people sharing in the media and the social media, for wearing those shirts, for just the caps, whatever it is, so that people at least see that word vegan. That starts conversation.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I get so excited when I'm in the store and I see the word. I don't want to just check the ingredients. I want to see the word vegan on there. I'm so happy. Yeah.
I have a song I do on the aisle. I go, "If you want me to buy, you got to put a V on it."
Your remaining balance is $0. To repeat,
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for commenting. That was great. Thanks. So we have is it Dr. Mars?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Mars, go ahead.
Thanks, Nancy.
Justin, are you there? You're not. You're still
Paging
muted.
Dr. Mars.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I tried to unmute myself and then someone muted me, so I was trying to prepare. I'm, as Silas knows, I'm tech-tarded here. So you can all hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I wanted to follow up with that theme, and I think, Silas, you've heard this story before, but I was a Ram Dass groupie, and unfortunately I never got a chance to convert Ram Dass to veganism. But if I had a little bit more time, I think I could have done it. Anyway, so I was at one of his last retreats in Maui, and the name of the retreat, it was one of his largest retreats that he had, was Love Everyone. And, and so I just noticed that the food, like every day, every meal had, bacon in the morning and lunch meats and stuff. And so, in what am I trying to say? In supporting your, just make sure you put your sense in where you can. I raised my hand. This was about, early on in the conference, and everyone was all lovey-dovey and talking about Buddhism and stuff. And so I raised my hand, and I just raised my hand because I wanted everyone to hear. I said, "So love everyone. I just wanted to ask, so does that include all the animals?" And, and oh yes, the animals. Susan Strasberg was up there and she was talking. I'm like, so if that's true, why are we eating them 3 times a day? And there was like a bit of silence, and there was definitely some uncomfortableness. And then they had some lame explanation. Well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, just wanted to find out that you're all hypocrites, yada, yada. I didn't say that, but I just said, okay. But I definitely left an impression, and a number of people came up to me afterwards and thanked me. So I, you know, made my point, and I think that probably a lot of people thought about that for quite a long time after that. Anyway.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you definitely planted seeds. And if they got mad at you, it's them. It's like I don't know what to do. It's like when I weigh the option of not speaking up just to make somebody feel a little bit more comfortable about their bad choice, it's not really worth it. So that's
yeah,
cool.
I mean they didn't get mad because in the nature of their conference, you know, they're all lovey-dovey and stuff. So, but they definitely like were a little. I think it disturbed them a little bit that someone brought that up to their attention. And, you know, I just was sad that I never got Ram Dass to go fully vegan. I was, you know, I had attended a number of his conferences, and I'd always used to, you know, talk to him about it. And I was friends with one of his personal physicians, and we actually debated the merits of vegan diet. And I'm sad that I never got a chance to be his personal doc, and because I would have definitely converted him for sure. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Tanya.
Hey, guys, I think Lisa Barca wanted to contribute something. Lisa, take it away. We can't hear you.
Hi everybody. We were just talking about how my song is very much on this topic, and I don't know if people want to hear it. I know a lot of you have heard it many times, and I don't want to overexpose people.
Look, we're live on Facebook. It's like brand new to new people. Go for it. Hit it.
Okay. All right.
Go for it. You got it.
Hey, thanks. So yeah, I wasn't thinking of this, but it's just so related to what we're talking about and what Tanya's talking about. So without taking too much time, the song is called Barbecue Protest. I have a video for it that has adorable sanctuary animals. It's just a super fun, uplifting video. So if you want to watch that, look for my band Scarlet Rescue. So Scarlet with 1 T Rescue. And we've got it. It's up on YouTube. It's at the top of the page, and it just topped a little over 3,000 views now since July, which is kind of exciting. So it's really about exactly this topic. So the friendship I'd referenced before, where one friendship where I brought this, and we were very close, and she just kind of sort of lost it, you know, in a low grade way, and just went off on all these things. Vegans are preachy. You don't want to keep putting it out there, because I was posting things about animal abuse, and like it was really hard. So anyway, I reached a point in my life where I decided that speaking up against oppression was more important to me than the friendship of any one particular person, and I wanted to write a song about that. And so this is what came out. It's called Barbecue Protest. And I just want to quickly say, I realize that I've always been a little bit of an outsider in some ways in society. And so I think in some ways it was a little easier for me to do this and risk, you know, alienating myself from people. So that's why the first line is, I've been on the outside for a long time. So anyway. I've been on the outside for a long time, which makes me less concerned about your approval. If my vision meets with your derision, you'll be flagged for removal. 'Cause I don't mind walking on my own, no. And I don't mind deleting you from my phone. We're all born and die alone anyway. Like the feeling beings we kill for food today. So I don't want to go to the barbecue. I don't want to go 'cause it makes me blue. Now that you know, are we still friends? Sorry, I can't bear. Before you unfollow me, will you hear what I have to say? There's nothing more hollow, see, than looking the other way. You don't want to hear unpopular opinions, and I don't have a megaphone or minions. I make nice, pretend it doesn't bother me, but that's another me. The real one says, I don't wanna go to your barbecue. I don't wanna go, cause it makes me blue. Now that you know, are we still friends? Woo! And I don't mind finally taking a stand. Won't find me in Hamburglar land, not by my dollar or my hand. No. I still won't want to go in a year or two. I don't want to go to the barbecue, and I ain't gonna show no matter what you do. And now that you know, are we still friends? Oh. Or is this the end? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That could not have
That
been
was
more perfect.
amazing.
Thank you.
I know that. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have wanted to butt into your session, but it was just like so in line. It was just so in line with the wisdom that you were bringing, Tanya, that I wanted to share it. So thank you so much, everybody.
Perfect. That was perfect ending. I wish we would have planned that. We couldn't have planned that better. That was perfect.
I think we should talk and like plan other like future things. That would be amazing. So